Hello there, beautiful internet and amazing creatures of the beyond. Welcome. I have been expecting you. So, I thought that we should play a bit with some raster design, meaning digital painting. And the reason why I haven't posted so many videos, chill session videos of Inkscape, is because I've been spending some time within the beautiful, what's this, Affinity Photo 2. But regardless of what software you use, Krita being quite interesting, but I really cannot get used to their brushes for some reason. I don't know. It's a little bit foreign to me. Probably I'll manage it one day, but I still have lots to learn. I thought we might learn together, and I would do a small exercise by painting the snout of this piggy. So this piggy is this one. Ah, cannot see. Ah, it's blocked. Well, just a moment. There we go. Our beautiful mascot, whatever his name is. Let's call him Larry. So I was thinking just doing the basic form here. So uh, these are my custom made brushes. It's quite easy to make a brush. But basically what I usually use are these. And it's just very small variations. So for example, if I use, this is my favorite brush for filling in stuff, and maybe even deleting new parts. Let me just be sure I'm on a new layer. So for example, if I go here, this is a straight up brush, nothing too crazy. But I just really love this shape because it's basically three rounded brushes in the corner and they're all connected in this triangle format. And the way you do this is you create this shape. I actually created it with this. Then you can go into the triangle, and from the triangle shape, you can add, I don't know how many, let's say 15 will be enough, or 40. And you can create this rounded format because you give it that roundness. Anyway, and well, you can do this into any designs, but for this one, how it works, you can create either from the selection as an image, but I recommend that you do it new intensity brush, meaning that you need to make this one black, save it as a PNG, so the background is transparent, then introduce it with this new thing, the intensity brush anyway. So what shall we do first? Let's create the snout. The way I do it, and probably people are going to say like I'm a rookie, but I do not mind, is to just overlap the snout. So I'm gonna choose a brush that's relatively loose. Unfortunately, unlike Photoshop, you cannot right click to see the menu. You have to go all the way up here, go on more and see all of this. It's kind of annoying. It's well, although it's different, it's kind of interesting in the same time. It's a bit more organized than Photoshop, so I like it. Now, in Photoshop, you have the possibility to, based on how you use the stylus pen, when you press, you increase the opacity, and that's not a tick here in the settings of the brush. But in order to achieve that, you have to go to accumulation jitter, and I usually go with 100%. I like 100%, and I set it on pressure, but you can play with the values. it's based on your feelings how the brush should work. And these are just like the hardness is 80%, so let's test it out. And the spacing is 25. Oh, I forgot I left it so big, but the point is if I'm gonna do this, you see there is a little bit of feathering there, and it's leaving a little bit of opacity. So you either have to recolor over it or just redo some stuff. But I like this because it gives it a more organic feeling to it. And people might think, well, why don't I use a custom brush for this? Mainly because of the hardness. Custom brushes don't have hardness, but the rounded brush does. So we're gonna do this. So let's select the pigment. Probably this one is. Let me. I think this one should be okay. So we're just gonna do something like so. Actually, if you want a better stabilization, use stabilizers, and then oh damn. Um, I'm gonna go with something a little bit more solid. And as you can see, it creates a better outline. And the important thing is that I'm not trying to outline the shape, I'm trying to make the shape. I'm just gonna fill it in. And this is just for proportions, nothing too crazy. Maybe that one, it's a little bit more like this. Hop. And a bit like this. I don't know. As I said, I'm still learning myself, so this is the best approach that I found helpful for me. Hey. Do the snout correctly. Sometimes you just have to kind of go in there and something like this. Oops. Anyway, so now I'm gonna go back to my filling brush, make it a bit smaller. And there we go. Easy peasy. Probably not the best outline, but we tried. Now the cool thing about this software is that unlike Photoshop, you kind of work on one layer, which is interesting. So basically, if I want to introduce, let's say, this highlight over here, I take this new layer and I just put it inside here. But be careful not to put it over like this because then it becomes a mask, which is also interesting. But we do not want a mask. So let's fix the snout here. Just a moment. Oh, what am I doing? I'm in the wrong layer. In this layer. Oh. Maybe we'll remove some of sorry, some of the top. Let me get something a little bit more translucent. I need to put it at 100. I forgot. Something along the lines of this. So now that we have the snout, let's see. In this new layer, we're going to create the top part. So this. So we can go back to our brush and I'll choose Well, there is no spray. Well, there is a spray can, but it's what's the word? Uh, Airsoft brush. I think there is no airsoft brush in uh, in this software, but there are other ways to do it. So we can, for example, let's say I'm gonna take this brush, maybe a little bit less. So I've taken this color over here, and we can kind of add it like this in small variations. And I'm just building up because when I'm on 20% opacity and flow with a 80% hardness, I'm trying to keep the hardness 80% in most of the cases because it softens the edge. And probably I'm gonna, even this one has a bit of a soft edge if you look closely. So now we can go with something a little bit more white on the edge. And we're gonna post this on top of this. So we're working on layers as normal, but maybe I'm gonna put this on, let's say 30% and make it a bit larger. And now if I'm gonna go something like this, as you can see, I'm already doing a very natural highlight. Of course, we have to do more than this. Oh, the poor piggy. I hope he's still alive and he was not sacrificed for the hunger of humanity. We can come with different colors like this, for example, and so to create a better blend, don't need to use white necessarily. And if we want to smooth down the transition, we can go a little smaller. Of course, there are many details that are happening in here. It's not just so simplistic. But if you work like in lots of details like this, it's gonna become incredibly difficult to. I mean, you're gonna create a very accurate design of what you're doing, but it's gonna become increasingly difficult to work with. So let's put this on top of this, and we want to add this type of color. A little bit stronger. Maybe. And if you need to create a smooth transition, just take the smudge tool. I keep it on flow 20 and 50 by default, but I go with the brush style. I go with something like this, which is 20%. So just do small circles like so to smooth in the color. And of course, there are many other ways to do this. If you want, you can do it gradients or whatever. One thing that I noticed that's very important to see is that you can do sharp edges and blurred edges, something that in Inkscape I have a lot of difficulty of achieving. Well, I mean, it's possible, but it's difficult as hell. Now, let's see, now we have this part of the nose, which has to come somewhere from over here. Of course, there's many pigmentations, but we'll try to see what we can get. Oh, sorry, I forgot to select the paintbrush. So now I'm gonna go with something something a little smaller. Probably it's best to do it somewhere outside, and I'll put it inside afterwards, just to get the correct positioning. So if we have something like this, and something like this, now we know where we have to place it. I don't know what that is. Whatever. And now we can just, again, do another thing here. Bam. And maybe a little bit less. Just do some shapes. Like so. Then we have this. That comes like this. So it kind of goes in a normal circular pattern. And then we come with the smudge tool and create a very smooth transition, well, as much as possible. And there we go. Of course, you have to apply this as well here. Just very slightly. And the same over here. Just slight modifications. And then we have something interesting happening to this nostril. We have something. I'm gonna go a little bit more dense. It's gonna be this color. If I'm on the brush, of course. Did I get it? So it's gonna be something like this. I think something like this. Anyway, so again, smudge tool, just so we can smooth it in. Maybe it should have been a bit longer than this. Create it on a new layer. Yeah, let's try to move it a bit to the left. Maybe a bit more to the... Okay. So something like this. And I'm gonna just... Whoa. I'm gonna smudge it in here a bit more. And then slowly try to create the same shape. Anyway, if you find it a bit tedious like this, then you can apply some erasing techniques. I'm gonna lower the opacity and just slowly come over, and or you can do opacity on this layer, but I find it a bit easier to work with this what's it called, with this brush technique. Okay, so this one needs to be a bit more. like so. Something is weird. Let me try to reduce some of it. Okay, and add more from here. Again, erase it slowly. It's getting there, slowly but surely. So it's not perfect, could be better. I think if we could do something like this, and let's push this smudge a bit larger. It's like we're applying makeup to the pig. I think I messed it up a bit. But I think we're getting closer to something. Of course, there are other things, like for example, we can take this and I suppose we could slowly build it up like this. And then a bit of smudging, just a tiny bit, to make it a bit more diffuse. And of course, I can also blur it, but I find it easier and faster to smudge. And then we have to do something here to build up this format. So what we could do, oh, I haven't built this on the other one, just a moment. Oh, let's do a new one. Where is it? So this one comes something like so. It's going up a little. Probably it was a little bit larger than what I've made here, but whatever. This is just, I'm still learning. We are all learning. Come on, get yourself in there so you can do it now. Something like this. Anyway, then we can apply, oops, something like this, and I'm gonna go with 30% again. And let's start building it up. Maybe this one should be underneath, like so. And I raise a bit here. Actually, I shouldn't, because it does have a bit, it goes a little bit around. Then we have to come with this part. And let's see what else. Maybe this part we can kind of morph it in. If I do it smaller, 40%, kind of go like this. There we go. The same for this. Well, more or less. Maybe less. Of course, we can add new information afterwards. I might have gotten some proportions wrong here and there. But hey, we are humans. We make mistakes. I'm gonna erase a bit here. Just small erasements. Small, 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 small. And probably I'm gonna... where is it? This one as well. Try to leave just a mark. Maybe this one could also be a little bit less in this corner. Anyway, something like that. Not perfect, not bad. Could be better, could be worse. Now let's create something in here. We need this highlight, which we're going to use, I don't know, this base color, something light. This should be all right. So we want it at 30%. Maybe I'm gonna push it to 40 by 40. And let's try to kind of follow the same pattern. Maybe a bit smaller here. I don't know. Something like this, and it goes a little bit like this and like this. And this one hands like this. And all we have to do is just come on top of it and then pump, 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 slowly but surely. Kind of mix it in. Slowly, 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 slowly. So we don't make a mess. Of course, be careful how much pressure you apply, how much you select things to go from one place to the other. Like for example, here we're going to make some small modifications. I'm gonna come with the eraser tool and try to create sort of like an opacity going through here, because we see we have less over here. Maybe I should try to reduce its opacity in general, like that. Okay, then I go like this, then we push a bit here, then we definitely push more of the values inside here, but just tiny variations. Now we're gonna come with the smudge tool again. The smaller it is, the more refined the edge can be. And if I push the color inward, I create this natural and organic transition. Anyway, maybe push this like so, and this one has to be underneath the nose. And whatever else there is here. Yeah, something like this. Now, if I'm happy with what I have here, I will have to select everything, bring it out a bit. Then now I'm gonna merge select it. And ta-da! And now I can it's much easier for me to blend in everything because everything is on one layer. It is destructive, but then again, it is digital painting. So the point is to let these colors mix in with one another so they feel more relaxed, more calm, more happy with each other. And it's different when you combine colors this way. It's easier to work with the whole merged element. Perhaps here it should be a bit darker. And if you feel like you don't have enough color, just go with the brush, select it, and just add more color, like so, and then spread it around. Bam. Oh, oh, oh. You just spread away the color, how much you want, how much you need. But perhaps this was not such a great idea. Let me try to put it on a new layer. Maybe it's easier to spread out. Because right now it's missing with everything. So I'm gonna just redo it here. Maybe just a tiny pinch. And now let's see. Yeah, there we go. Much, much better when we're not combining it with everything. Of course, eraser when we need to erase. And stuff like that. It's just a slow process. But things build up slowly but surely. So for example, you can take this. This is the darkness. The darkness. I'm gonna go as dark as possible. So let's make a new layer. And we're gonna push it. Well, I'm gonna push it a bit stronger, maybe a bit looser as well. So we need to make it something like so, a bit smaller. And then we just come with the rest. And then again, bam, we take our beautiful smudge tool, we smudge it around, maybe not that much. And then we have to add a bit more color here at the bottom. A bit darker. Taking the wrong value. Let's try like this. try to go with a stronger tone. There we go, I think. I don't know. It's just not giving me a dark enough tone. What the hell? Piggy, what have you done? Maybe I've chosen the wrong color. Of course, you can always... come on, something like so. You can always zoom in to do a better work. Okay, pam 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 pam, slowly but surely. And let's erase a bit here. Let's combine it a bit better over here. More or less. It's starting to shape like something. It's not perfect, obviously, but then there are, it's tricky because shapes can be very fluid, and if you angle it the wrong way, it kind of feels wrong. Oh, I've erased instead of using smudge. Maybe add a bit more color over here. Not that type of color, a little lighter. Brush. Sometimes it's a bit of a daunting experience with the way they made the brushes. Something like that. Let's remove this. And it's a little bit of trial and error. But if you play with it long enough, you're gonna get something. Just need patience. Don't be afraid to erase stuff. Make it lighter sometimes. I think we're getting there. Slowly and surely. Now, I'm not sure exactly how to paint those things. And of course, we haven't even done texture because, as you can see, there are these lines that are going like so. And some people love to use texture brushes. I have a ton of them, but the ones that I work with, and they're very amazing. This is the first one, Ahmed Al-Dori, and Evan Concept Art Brush Pack. I'm not sure about this one if it comes separate, but you can do plenty of cool things with it. Like for example, I don't have a... As you can see, the hardness is very fixed. What color should I use? Let me try. Am I even painting on something? The hell? Oh, I'm with the eraser. Brush. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, brush. So I was doing something with which one? Well, whatever one of them. Let's try this. Of course, I would reduce the opacity by a lot. But you can easily add new things like so. You know, very tiny brush strokes that creates this kind of texture. Of course, there are many types, like this one, for example. I think this one is a bit too strong. Uh, this one could also be used in some certain areas, but usually I try to kind of add this late in the creation process. Of course, they can add a lot of variation, and I think this is not a bad variation. Perhaps here we could erase a bit. Using various types of brushes as an eraser is also a very cool thing. But of course, it's up to you to play with them however you think they should be played with. I generally just stick to my brushes. And of course, if I need like a specific area that I want to reach, so let's say, am I drawing? No, I'm not, because I forgot to change the brush. I was still on the. Sometimes it's annoying. Sometimes. So if I want to go somewhere that's a bit difficult to reach, I just use these custom brushes that I made. This is more for um, angular working and lines and whatever, but you can create some interesting artwork with this as well. But as I said, you cannot play with hardness, unfortunately. A workaround is to create a brush that you feather. As you can see, the edge is feathered in comparison to this one, which is not. And I don't know why I didn't. Because I'm working inside, not outside. So this one is not feathered, and this one it is feathered. So there is a clear distinction between them. But again, you cannot control too much. So the what was I looking for? The brush. The rounded brush gives you far more control. So for example, we already kind of combined things here, but we have to kind of create these things, and I'm not entirely sure how. I just go like this. They're quite difficult to do. This one has like a lot of weird little shades. And here as well. And then you have some over here. I don't know, it's kind of difficult to work with this. Oh, of course we can just blend it in slowly. Just tap 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 on it. Of course it would require a bit more shading. Even darker here, because it is taking a bit of the color from within the inside the nose. And again, tap tap tap. I'm not entirely sure It's something. It's not perfect, but it's something. And here it is even more pronounced. So it's sort of like this. Maybe I should make the shape a bit larger. The brush, sorry. Mm, something like so. Of course, for this maybe a bigger. Let's try hardness 100. Maybe we have a bit more luck. Come on, give me a brighter color. Whatever, something like so. And then we blend them in. Of course, when you go in, it's like a jungle mess. But this, you zoom in usually only for like the small details. Maybe this one should go a little lower. Something like that. A little bit of an eraser. Ooh, too much. You're too high. Something like this. And when we look from afar, it's not the best, but not the worst either. I think we can do a bit better here. If I just add more darkness in the nostrils. Like so. And here as well. Maybe 100 is too much. Let's keep it at 80. Like so. Perfect. Well, as perfect as a pig can approve that it's perfect, but it's close there. It's close. Now we can just add a few more of this thing is. Let's go like so. Separate new thing. And just do, well, for this one I'm gonna go full opacity. Maybe not full. Just little dots here and there. You don't have to be extra accurate on this part. And we can be forgiven for making some mistakes. Now here we can play a bit with these lines if you want. Just tiny little dots. And this over here, and now we just Play a bit with the colors, blend them in a little. Maybe this one is not so good. Let me use something. Like so. I'm gonna erase a bit here, maybe a bit here and here, just to make it a bit more seamless. That is the correct word. And then with the brush, we can come and enforce our lines just where we need them. For example, here, here somewhere. Of things that stand out a little bit more than the rest. I don't know what to say. It's not perfect, obviously, but hey, we tried. I think it passes for an acceptable snout. Yeah, the nostrils were much larger than I did, though, and much wider. But this is what happens when you work with references, and I think we kind of messed up a bit with the lighting here. And I should bring in more light. I don't know, let's try something neutral with 0%, 30%, not 0. I don't know, something like this. But yeah, I should have done them a little wider. That's my mistake. But it's not bad. I mean, we could do a bit more shadow over here. Let me just take the shadow. And kind of place it here somewhere. Let's see now. Slowly, slowly. Some of the shapes are not perfect. But again, as I said, I'm learning, so I'm bound to make mistakes, but it's a passable peak at best. I'm happy with our results. Even though they're flawed. But I hope you guys learned the beauty of digital painting. And of course, I'm not saying this is a good guide or anything like that. There are still many things that I need to perfect in my design. But nevertheless, I think if I master just the rounded tool, the rounded brush, and maybe I mean, I rarely use these ones. There are certain situations where I can use them, especially with the lines and things like this, but most of 90% of the time I just use these brushes. This one usually for filling edges. This one is has a sharp edge. This one has a bit of a blurry edge, feathered edged. All of these have feathered edges, and the rest are just. This one is straight, straight edge, straight, 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 and these ones are blurred. Of course, you can play with the values here. You don't have to do much in terms of, I mean, you don't even need my brushes. You can create your own. And this is basically the default one, so it's not like I'm doing anything too crazy. If you want to see what I've done here, like I've left spacing, I just played with this hardness 80%, and then I set this flow to 40 and the opacity to 40 as well. And just to be on the, you see, opacity 40, flow 40, hardness 80. In this one is 20, 20, 80, and in this one is 100, 180. Nothing too crazy. And the difference between this three and this three is that this one, I have put the spacing on 1%, which makes it a lot more denser. Because the difference is, let me just hide this too. The difference is that when I'm painting like this, you see, this is with this one, and if I go with the other one, you can see that's already creating some, you see some circles. While with this other one, if I go like this, it's not leaving as many circles. If any of all. Depends how much you press on the stylus as well. So that's the only big difference. And for this one I showed you guys, this one is really cool for filling in stuff. I tried to make circles with it, but obviously it's still gonna look triangular in shape. This one is just, it's really cool for writing. Oops. Whee! And this one is more stylistic if I want to do something like so. Of course, you can also change the rotation and whatever. So I think it was, how was it? Control, yeah. So if I go like this, change its angling, and I can do whatever. Of course, if it shows this dot, it means that it's looking for, if you want to change the style that you've made to the brush, you just update it here, update brush, but I'm not gonna update it. And that's about it. This one is really cool. I really love working with this brush. Nice. Well, hope you guys enjoyed our beautiful session with the piggy. I forgot his name. Let's call him Aurelius. And I'm gonna plan to play more with painting and see what I can do. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Stay awesome and bye 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 bye.